Hey guys, welcome to Finally Clicked, the podcast where we discuss business, leadership, and personal development. My name is Margaret Smith, and I'm the Director of Operations for Pickett Street Properties, a real estate team out of Bothell, Washington. And I'll be here every week with our owner and team leader, Jesse D. Moore. We'll be digging into concepts and ideas that have helped us both personally and professionally. And you'll also get a chance to hear from local and national experts that we know provide massive value to get to the point where it all finally clicks.
Hi, everybody. This is Jesse Moore with Pickett Street Properties, joined by
Margaret Smith.
And we have a special guest today. I feel weird introducing her since you have that relationship, so I feel like you should make the introduction.
Okay. I'm really excited. So a little bit of the backstory. I had met an agent whose name is Krista at a class locally. And we started talking, and then she came by my office a couple weeks later, and we were actually talking about nutrition and health with Christina Jagels. And she brought up that she works with an intuitionist. And immediately I'm very drawn to anything, as all those of you that know me well know that my words for the year are intention and intuition. And I'm very much about tapping into my intuition and learning more about it over these last couple of years. And so my spidey sense, if you want, was like, yes, what is that? And so she told me about Enmay and gave me her contact information. And I reached out to Enmay via email about a personal session with her. And then also, because I like exposing people to new ideas and new ways of thinking, I asked her about coming to speak at my Pacific Northwest Operations Retreat. And we had a great email conversation, and then I met Enmay in person a couple weeks ago and had a fabulous time. So I'm really excited that she's here today on Finally Clicked, because this is a part of who I am, and I think for you guys to learn even more about how I think and operate and how I believe in being open to new ideas and ways of thinking, this is one of them. So...
Okay, so with that, we'll say welcome, Enmay.
Thank you, Jesse. Margaret, thank you. This is fun.
We're very glad you're here. I want to set, one of the things I'm good at is setting expectations. And I want to do that for us in this room now, and I want to do that for our audience that's listening as well. Mm-hmm. And here's what I want to say. I want to have the permission in our podcast to talk about whatever the heck we want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I think we've proven that, right? Yes. Between ASMR and whiskey, we've found a lot of different topics to talk about.
We're having whiskey?
Not today. But you'll be invited back for one of those episodes.
Thanks, I'll be here.
So let me say this. I'm going to ask our listeners to stay in curiosity. You may have your own belief systems. You may have all sorts of doctrine and dogma that might rise up in you as you listen to this podcast today. And what I would say, what I would ask is that you stay in curiosity. I grew up a certain way with a certain doctrine and dogma. In my evolution as a person, I've found some of those things to be true, some of those things not to be true. And that has taught me to look at other rational thought, other belief systems with an open mind to see what I can take from it that might benefit me and benefit the people around me. So I'm going to ask for that from our audience's curiosity. And then, Enmay, I'm going to say there's the other part of me that is just going to ask for permission to be a skeptic, to say, and not to be defensive about it, but just to as a point of curiosity to say, hey, I know other people may come at it this way. And how would you answer those people?
Well, I enjoy and invite your mentalist side, your strategic side, because I believe that intuition has to stand alongside your own intellect. It has to go side by side. And today, everybody's looking for a secret sauce. And I'm sensing that alongside data, alongside proof, alongside information, there is the inner heart, the heart that speaks, the spirited self. Not necessarily the spiritual self, but the spirited self. So even looking at a home today, I had a client that said, I'm standing in front of a $7 million home and I don't know who's going to be living in here. I said, never mind that. Let's go to the party that house is throwing. And I asked her to think about what kind of people would be throwing what kind of party in that house. And immediately she went there. She went there with me. She could feel, wow, there's a pool. There's nanodoors opening up to the outside. There's a band. There's 2 bands. There's an upstairs and a downstairs. It's a totally banquet. It's gorgeous. And she immediately could see the people who should live in that home. Within 3 days, that $7 million home sold.
To somebody that owned 2 bands?
Actually, they're in the music business.
They are in the music business.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
with 7 children. The house has 9 bathrooms, so congratulations. They landed very well.
That reminds me very much of how you talk about certain properties that we approach in selling, because you talk about what's the story behind this and who's going to own it.
No, a big part of our listing process is thinking about the demographic of the buyer for that home, and really future tripping about what how that buyer searches for that home, and the keywords they use to find that home and everything else. Even the media they would use to find the home. Right?
I delight in the fact that I am working with so many wonderful realtors across the world. Singapore, California, New Mexico, it doesn't matter. But I ask my realtors to think about the demographic in a bigger way. I'm saying, who would you like in that neighborhood? Who would be ideal? How many schools are there? How many homes are there? How many elderly people, aging options? What are you looking for in that neighborhood? So when you drive through or when you're canvassing or somebody calls you, ask them to tell you a little bit about the neighborhood, and you can feel a sensitivity arise inside of you. So now you have some facts, you have some data. Now go with your heart.
So let's establish a baseline. If someone you've been doing, I don't know much about you. How long have you been doing this type of work?
Since I was 3.
Since you were 3. Okay. And you're okay. And how do we give context to our audience? I'm not your age now, or how long is that?
No.
Many decades.
I have wonderfully been gifted a gift from the lineage of my family. I'm half Chinese, half Japanese, born in Sherman Oaks, California, married to a German-Irish guy, and we have a basset hound. But anyways, on the Chinese side of me, I was gifted with this ability to be clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. All the clairs are inside of me. I can feel, taste, hear, smell, touch your past, your present, your future. Talk about gifts.
Yeah.
So at first, I was the local freak. At first, it was, don't go over and play with Enmei. She's creepy. She's a witch. Don't eat what she's eating. I don't know what's in her food.
Yeah.
So it was a very isolated condition. However, my parents knew that I was this way, and this was my norm. So they front-loaded me with wonderful teachers and shamans and guides and therapists and everybody else that I needed on my team.
Very lucky to have parents like that.
So they were all on my autodial since the age of 3.
Wow.
And this is how I grew up.
And you were able to then structure this into a business.
Yeah. Well, when your neighbors are incredibly in the music industry, and then they come and they say, Enmei, what stage am I going to be on? Or what should I record? Or who should I be working with? It was easy for me to see, feel, hear, touch that gold Grammy that they were holding in their hands and how they got it.
Wow. And so is it fair to say then that is your business?
Yes, it is.
Utilizing your gifts for the betterment of your clientele?
It's always for the greatest and highest good. I'm not allowed to see the dark side. I'm not allowed. In fact, if there is some darkness, I ask them to depart. I show them the exit, and they are out of here. We're only here for our highest good and for the good of all others. That's why we're here. That's why our cells are slammed up together to be you, Jesse, to be you, Margaret. So when we are asked to do our higher calling or our passion, I believe that we have to start with a smile on your face and your heart and say, wow, how do I be of the highest service? And then your talents and your skills kind of pull together and they say, oh, I'm good with people. I'm good with homes. I'm good with other people. I'm good networking. Whatever that might be, there it is.
So I guess I want to be clear about something, and that is, this is a business podcast. Mostly we talk about the relationship between the executives and their director of operations, that relationship specifically. And so I want people to know that I became aware of you through business circles, not through spiritual circles or woo-woo circles or anything like that. So, I mean, I want the audience to know that, my awareness of you is all about business, right? And you're an advisor to business owners.
Yes.
And you've had quite a clientele.
Yep.
And you probably can't talk about it much, can you?
You have to be very careful about that because there are many non-disclosures that are part
But I want
of
our
that.
audience to understand that we didn't just find you in a crystal shop, right?
Crystal
and
shop
have
in Snohomish or
a
something.
good conversation and invite you on our podcast. Like, there's a reason you're here. We're intentional. We are, and that's an aspect of what we're talking about today is intention.
Yes.
And we were very intentional in saying, we want you on our podcast, and there's a reason why we want to speak with you. How do we translate that to the audience?
I've been very fortunate to work with some of the leaders in your real estate industry here in Washington State, California, Alaska, everywhere. Some of my clients own massive numbers of golf courses, apartment buildings or condos. I'm being very cautious of how I can express who they are because I want to respect their privacy. And they may call me and say, I can't sell this freaking property, or this is stuck, or this is not moving, or I've got a bad contractor, or whatever the issue might be. And I'll stand on their property, or they'll send me a photograph, and I can feel what's going on. I had one place on Alki. The architect sent me a photograph, and he goes, I'm having some problems. I said, it's liquefaction. And I didn't even know where that word came from. I didn't even understand it. I said, what is liquefaction? I asked the architect. He goes, oh, fuck. Am I sorry. He said,
okay.
Am I sinking? And I said, there's a part of it that's on the parking lot side there's water underneath that has to be controlled before you go to any further growth on that property. And sure enough, he called somebody to check to see what his elevations were, and they were changing in the moment. And I said, well, then you were signaled that you cannot continue on to build on that site until you correct that situation. And so luckily, it was a $30,000 fix instead of a $3 million fix. So it was taken care of.
So I want to explain. I'm doing a lot of explaining, probably for my own good. I absolutely believe that there are things in this universe and that we experience and in this dimension that we can't see, but that we can acknowledge, or that we are impacted by.
I love how you
and
put
so
that.
when if we go back a few hundred years, people wouldn't believe in single-celled organisms, right? Like, they wouldn't believe in germs, and that's what makes us sick, and that's what And so until we had a microscope, and we could actually see what it was that was affecting us, then it was okay to believe in that. And so I know that there are certain sounds that I can't hear that a dog can hear. Does it mean those sounds don't exist? No. It just means I can't hear them, right? And so it seems natural to me that there would be people on this plane that have abilities that I don't have. And it makes sense to me to inquire with those people, and to make relationships with those people, and to bring those into our network of vendors, right? Of people that can help us.
Well, you speak of these sensory feelings, and I believe that everyone has them. And they come through, I believe, 5 different pathways in our own bodies: emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, mindfully, and even financially. You have a pathway inside of your own body that allows you to hear both instinct and intuition. Now, instinct, let me explain, is a fear-based, yeah, but woulda, coulda, shoulda, I'm scared to death if I don't, place of decision-making. It is not there to guide you. It's there to protect you. okay? If a bear is coming at you, you freaking run. Good idea. But if you're making all your decisions based on a bear running after you, how good are those decisions? It's all based on fear. It only takes care of the immediate condition, which I call urgent care. Okay, I'm very glad that there's an urgent care next to me when my husband decided to use a hacksaw and take off a little piece of his finger. So that's outstanding that we have urgent care. But when we turn down the noise, the anxiety of instinct, that's always fear-based, that's always loaded, is always full of churning stomach muscles and nightmares and sleepless nights, we can listen to our intuition, which is always proactive, which is always gentle, which is always there with flow and ease, showing you what's going to be your greatest and highest good, your greatest and highest decision for everyone involved, not just you. The instinct runs around with ego. It is ego run. So I call her my bitchy kitty. And bitchy kitty sometimes has moments that says, well, I want it this way. But if I tell bitchy kitty to just sit down and have some ice cream, she can quiet down and I can hear what's the greatest good and highest results for everyone concerned. That is smooth and ease. There is no yeah buts or what ifs inside of your intuition. So those goosebumps, pay attention.
So I think about this a lot. We, on a biological evolutionary basis, we have a few hundred years ago, we had to pay attention to our instinct because we could get mauled by a bear, or we could, you know what I mean, or we could get shot by an enemy. Like there was clear and present danger around every corner.
Yes.
We don't have that anymore. So do you think that instinct is a bigger problem for us because of the lack of danger that we're in on a daily basis?
Instinct is woven into your DNA. It is part of what has been inside the human genome, and there's no way we can take it out. We can turn it down. So yes, it is quite exorbitant. It's quite a big emotion that usually is within the first breath. When somebody is breathing and trying to make a decision, you notice how they kind of breathe shortly, just up in their neck, kind of panting like
a Pomeranian?
Yes. And when we actually take a deep breath, we're awakening our own intuition, which lives inside of us, very deep inside your heart or your heart chakra.
So I was thinking about this and reading about you and this discussion between intuition and instinct and the difference between intuition and fear-based decision-making. And I want to know how you know the difference. How, as a business owner, I absolutely know when I know what this is about. I've made decisions based on fear. I have.
Mm-hmm. I think we all have.
That being said, I can't always tell in the moment that it's fear-based. Sometimes I use my track record of decision-making skills to give me the confidence to just be decisive. I think that's an important thing. I talk often about just how important it is to be decisive. Most people, I feel like, are not decisive, and those are the people that work 9-to-5 jobs in a cubicle and wait for someone to tell them what to do. The people I talk to and my friends, and we pride ourselves in being decisive people. I don't care if it's wrong, just be decisive. So I'm curious because I've had flow. I've made good decisions.
Yes.
One after the other. That meant we had tremendous momentum, tremendous success, followed by decisions that were fear-based and took us out of that momentum and took us out of that success. How can I navigate that when I'm trying to make a decision? How can I tell the difference between listening to my instinct and listening to my intuition?
Instinct inside of your body actually has a reaction. It has a trigger action that says, yeah, but. It says, yeah, but. Yeah, but maybe if this person is not going to fit this this particular location, then I have to find somebody else. Yeah, but if I can't get the funding for this project, I have to go with hard cash or do something else. So when we're making those decisions with the yeah buts, that means we are working from instinct. Those are those moments of doubt, moments of fear, moments of anxiety. So I would put them on a scale. Is it 0 to 10? 10 meaning it's jumping off the charts, or 0, I'm in my flow. So you can check for yourself to see where's your flow, where's your ease. And then there's something called the noble higher purpose. Now that means in the moment you might be faced with a crisis or a certain level of having to make a decisive decision. If you can take a breath, in fact, I would ask you to take 3 deep breaths. If you can take 3 deep breaths and then visualize, what would this look like in 5 years or even 3 years? Take it and jump it out into the future. See if you still enjoy your decision. If you enjoy your decision, if you feel this feels really delicious, really strong.
I love that word.
Yes. It's got a taste. It has a texture and a taste and a feel. That's why I'm saying that sensitivity comes through sight, sound, taste, touch. It's all through those wonderful outlets of where you can listen to your own intuition.
Mm-hmm. That makes me really think of, so one of the things I have done in the past, but I didn't realize what I was doing, was when I'm planning an event or I buy a house, or in previous times some event is coming up for my family, I can often envision myself there. And then I, like, when I saw you at the retreat, and I was like, this feels right. This feels good. And then that's when I know it's going to happen. And I know everything's going to be as it should be, and it's going to be magical. And that is, I don't know if that's intuition, the envisioning part. It makes me think of using a vision board. It makes me think of, like, how you create.
Ooh, that's yummy. So your intuition does sit in that beautification, the way that you can visualize or envision or manifest is where your intuition lies. I would ask you to open that regularly, on a regular basis. Do that. Okay. When I wake up in the morning, I usually start with, okay, who am I going to have fun with? Mm-hmm. That's how I start my day. Who am I going to have fun with? Who's going to be inspiring to me? Who's going to be exciting to me? Who's going to be letting go of their aches or pains, and we get to crumble them into the universe? So I can envision what is happening. Before I see a client, I will sit in meditation. I think meditation is a very important ingredient in allowing your intuition to flow. Meditation lets me feel, hear, touch, smell, taste what your universal guides are trying to tell me about what you might be needing today.
Okay, I want to verify what I'm hearing. If I want to be more intentional in listening to my intuition, then I need to meditate to dispel the fear-based decisions, the fear-based thoughts.
Meditate, play, read, listen to music. Actually, it's interesting. If I had okay, I can tell this story. I had a Boeing engineer of 38 years with VP at the back end of his name, and he came to my office and was really popping a vein trying to tell me that his 250 people under him were not listening, were not producing, were off schedule, were very angry, were ready to walk out. And he was just spitting and fuming, and seriously, there were red lines going through his eyes, and I can hear the anger and the sadness. And I clapped my hands once, and that was just to change the energy in the room. And I asked him, "What's your favorite ice cream?" He went ballistic on me. He was livid. He said, "You aren't listening to a word I'm saying. I can't believe you just asked me such a stupid question like that." I said, "Go on. I've been taking notes." And I let him go for another 10 minutes. I clapped twice. And I then whispered, "What's your favorite ice cream?" I said, "Take a breath, stop, breathe." I asked him to breathe 3 times. And I think I rang a gong in the room just to change the energy in the room. And he started to cry. And he then whispered, pistachio. I said, all right, stop. Where did you taste it? Where were you? Was it in a cone? What's the weather like? And he said, I was in Italy with my 2 grandsons, and they are small. And they looked up at me and said, Grandpa, this is the best day ever. So what we did was change the rhythm, change the energy. And what he said to me was, oh my God, I've been a real weenie. He used other words. And I said, yes, you're a double weenie. And he says, I get it. I haven't been listening. I haven't been present. I haven't allowed that staff to contribute the way they need to contribute. So the next day, I got an email from him. He bought 250 little containers of Haagen-Dazs ice cream and called a meeting. And everybody thought they were going to get fired at 11:30 a.m. They came, they had ice cream. He's walking around the room saying, oh, my favorite is pistachio. And then there was silence. And he stood up and said, I want to apologize to all of you that I have not been present. I have not been listening to you. I haven't been aware of what you need to do, how you want to grow, how I can help you grow. I've even forgotten the people that I've stepped over to get to the position I'm in. I sincerely apologize, and from this day forward, I am here for you. Well, he now has 250 raving fans. So sometimes we get into our crunchy, cranky, stinky pants attitude, and we're affecting the entire ripple of our life, the inner circle to the outer circle. They are getting the brunt end of our fear-based anxiety.
Well, and it's so hard to come out of that place on your own.
Pistachio ice cream helps.
Well, and you need someone to tell you that, right? Like you have to be able to be objective enough to say, I am not able to find my way through this. I need the help of somebody else. And they might ask me ridiculous things like, what's my favorite kind of ice cream?
Well, it's sort of like me trying to fix my own SUV. No, I barely know where to put the gas, but I will use a professional mechanic. So I believe that we look to professionals to mechanize us in the highest and greatest possible so that we can be our best self. And if that takes an intuitionist, then let's go play.
That's great that you see your work that way.
I never feel like I'm working.
Yeah, you're just playing.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Who do you get to have fun with today?
Yeah, my sandbox is way fun.
And that changes your perspective, right? That changes for the whole day. For
the year, for your lifetime.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just stuck on something that's inside of your body, mind, or spirit by a memory or a experience that says, I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to make a success, or I'm not going to be as rich as my brother. Something happened. Let's wiggle, jiggle, strike that, fry that, get that out of there, and allow some new juice to flow inside of you.
That's how I've been feeling like recently in my car as I'm listening to the podcast I listened to that silly video that I made the other day with Sam in here singing. And I say out loud, I'm having so much fun. What the heck is up? And I'm having way too much fun for other people. Like other people are like, how are you having such a good time? And it's like you can't help it. And then it bubbles out of you and people want to be around that. They want a part of it. They want to figure out how you got there. That's the secret sauce.
You bet.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then I just thought back to what you said earlier about breathing because I was in a yoga class the other day and they talk a lot about, I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, pranayama breathing.
Yes.
And she said, Henry Ford and Thomas Edison believed in taking those breaths in order to clear their mind, to be able to think clearly, to create the light bulb, to create whatever they were working on.
Yeah, meditation doesn't have to mean you have to fold up into a pretzel.
Yeah.
It means breathing. So one quick style that I use with all my CEOs is the 3 deep breath method. And in the first breath, you are breathing for all the gifts of the past, every experience, every lesson, whether it was good or bad, everything of your past. And the next breath is for this present moment, that you're awake, you're alive, you can feel your fingers, you can hear the weather, you can taste French fries. Mm-hmm. You're in your present. And then the third breath is all for the future, for the miracles and magic that is yet to come.
Charles Dickens meditation. Ghost of Christmas Past, Ghost of Christmas Present,
Oh
Ghost
my
of Christmas
gosh.
Future.
I hadn't thought of that.
Fa la la.
All right, I'm going to come at you random. How is intention linked to intuition, or is it at all? Are they related at all?
Incredibly melded together. Intention says, I am going to be. It is in the state of being, not doing. Now, doing is a very interesting thing. We do every day. Mm-hmm. We do. We have to take care of our paperwork, pay our bills, show up for work. That's the doing, yes. But in being, how would you like to be? Do you want to be giddy, excited, be a money magnet, be successful, be joyful, be the best grandma ever, be the best darling in your life? Whatever that is a sense of being, and that is intention. That is inside of your intuition, of seeing the greatest and highest.
So they're linked.
Oh, they are not only linked, but they flow in the same sphere and the same pathway. So setting your intention, even for the moment, even if it's for the day or for a 5-year process, is very important. That focus of being on the top, being where you want to desire and where you see your highest outcome is really, really important.
Okay.
It's the top-down theory. When you think about marketing, actually, this is a marketing thing that I learned at UCLA. You stand at the top of your success. See yourself throwing your big party at the W, or whatever that is, and see yourself handing out awards to all the people who work for you, or vacation certificates, or whatever it is that you're congratulating all these wonderful people. And now you can see how you got there. When you're standing at the top, you can see down. Oh, I avoided that collision. I avoided that crash. I have succeeded through here. But when you're standing at the bottom and looking up, it's a little harder to envision. So manifestation, intention, envisioning is very, very important to have focused all the time.
It reminds me, I listened to there's a rock climber who scaled some mountain that had never been, what's the term, free climbing?
Free climbing?
So no ropes,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yes.
And
Yosemite?
And he had done it several times with ropes, right? But his main practice after doing it with ropes a bunch of times, his main practice was the visualization without ropes.
Oh.
So it's doing the same route without ropes in his head,
right?
But knowing at every step, every handhold, every foothold, every inch of that climb.
Right. He said at the top many days to look at the route from the top, and exactly did that, to envision. And he did it at the fastest, quickest on record.
Yeah. I am going to ask you a few other random things.
Sure.
You mentioned flow. Flow is a concept we are familiar with. We are mainly familiar with it from a book called Good to Great, where they talked about flow. I think it was Good to Great.
I think so.
Or was it Gladwell? Was it Tipping Point or one of those?
Tipping Point talks about flow as well.
Well, one of those books. Maybe they both talk about them because every business book takes a little bit from every other business book. Where does flow fit? So if you're in a state of flow, everything's happening naturally, faster, everything else. Is that where intuition lives also?
It depends on your type of flow. I have a client who's very happy flowing in syrup. She rather go slowly but surely. And then I have the rapids, and I have a gentleman he needs the rapids. And if it's not in the rapids, he is not happy with a puddle.
Yeah.
So it depends on where your flow is. I'm not saying that everybody has to flow in the rapids, but you've got to find your flow, your brand, your logo.
So I'll tell you a little story about Margaret and I.
Sure.
Before I had hired Margaret, I had an assistant, and she fit. She checked all the boxes as far as what I was supposed to be looking for, what I wanted in a admin, and I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. I had hired one administrative assistant the worst way possible, which was like through a recommendation of a neighbor. I met her for coffee at Starbucks and hired her, right? And then after that didn't work out, I got more intentional about who I wanted in that position, and I checked all the boxes off on like a checklist type system. I didn't think, though, about energy. I didn't think about it at the time. And what ended up happening is that person was proficient in their work, but they were a black hole of energy. And they were right next to me. Their office was right next to mine. And I could feel my energy drain out of me every time I went into her office or by her office, so much so that I would literally, instead of walking past her door, I would go the opposite direction and walk 5 times as far to go to the copy machine or whatever.
And you were paying this woman.
And I was paying her.
Nice.
Yeah. And eventually I realized, hey, maybe you should find somebody else if you have to like do a lap around the building to get a cup of coffee. And so I did realize that. And Margaret is the person that I ended up with.
Well, you had hired an EV, an energy vampire, and they live among us. They creepy crawly all over the place. And that energy vampires will either take from you emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, mindfully, or financially, or the combination thereof. It's called ESPMF. And I strongly believe in wearing plenty of protection. And I believe that you have to protect your ESPMF at all times. So when hiring somebody, I believe that you want to check for that energy level. Are we emotionally going to be in synchronicity? Are we spiritually or spirited in the same spirit? Physically, meaning not the physical body of the person, but the physicality. Like you said, you went tripping all across the country to go get a cup of coffee to avoid this energy vampire. So the physicality is very important about a space or how you share the space or how the space is utilized, and even the colors on the wall. Everything has energy. Mentally and mindfully, are you in synchronicity? Are we practicing in the same level of contribution?
And I didn't know. I grew up a strict Protestant. Anything that couldn't be defined through Protestant understanding was demonized and vilified. And I was trained to just avoid it, right? So I didn't, at the time where I was hiring Margaret, and I did talk about the energy, I told this story. And I just had to, even though I couldn't explain it, I had to acknowledge it. There was no way of denying it. Like, if it affected me on such a deep level.
I think you mentioned a light bulb.
Right. So when I interviewed Margaret, I actually told her in the interview process early on, I go, I need you to be the energy cell for this business. I need you to be this bright, shining light, positive energy. Because I recognize the lack of it, right? And so I remember it was so intentional with her and saying, I really need you to be the energy of this business.
Well, you got freaking lucky here. Synchronicity allowed you to have not only the bunny, but she has actually tungsten light that starts daylight. So this is the energy that you require to, actually both of you are fueling each other's energy very well, so that you are actually sharing your energy with others.
Okay, so that's a dynamic we talk about often.
Yes.
And so if there is a relationship out there between an executive and their admin, and they don't have that harmony, they don't have that reciprocity, that synergistic energy flow, what's a hack for them? What's a way for them to get closer to that?
Check in with your ESPMF, your emotional, spiritual, physical, mental, mindful, and financial understanding of each other. See if you are looking at yourself in the same vibration or harmony or in sync. Synchronicity is a very important piece of having a very strong admin quality, because I see so many admins that are frustrated with their boss in that they aren't moving as fast as they should, or they see that their boss might be falling behind on something. So they're having to pick up the pace. The other side of the coin is the boss who's saying, come on, let's get going. And I'm not seeing what I need done. Where's my paperwork? What happened to this story, this item, this article? So if we're not in dancing the cha-cha together, then and we're not hip-hopping at the same beat, freaking forget it. Let's look to the highest and greatest for everyone concerned. Because actually what you're doing is maybe holding that person at hostage, saying, wow, you have to do this for me. You have to. No, they don't. If it doesn't smoothly come naturally and says, I love it when I get to do this. I love it when I get to have that. I love it when this gets done. I love being a part of this. Then we're not in the same rhythm. Let it go.
Yeah, as you say that, I'm realizing I'm going back and I'm reflecting on after hiring Margaret. I have some weird idiosyncrasies, like OCD type tendencies.
All have something, yes.
Like I hate fake light. I just hate unnatural light. Mm-hmm. And so I'll sit in a dark room over having fluorescents on often. Whoa. And so when Margaret came on and she realized this about me, she just amplified my current belief systems. What she did is, instead of me sitting in a dark room, right, she then took my predilection, which was to be away from unnatural light, and then she found other light sources to put into the room, right? And I'm just thinking, as we talk to our audience, what a great and creative thing that you did, and I want to acknowledge that and say thank you for it, is that's a reality for me. I function better in that type of environment, and it may not look great if I do it, right, because I'm more functional, a matter of function. But for you to come in and then just amplify what I needed in my environment, that was a big, I'm realizing in hindsight how important that was.
Bravo, Margaret. I think that's also being aware. Having that kind of awareness is very important. That's also part of the synchronicity. Mm-hmm. What are my shortcomings? What am I need to do to improve? What can I do to add content or belief or increase the opportunities? When we're looking at an admin or hiring one, I don't want you to start with a don't want list. There's a lot of people say, I don't want somebody who's going to be late. I don't want somebody who's going to be lazy. How about if we start with, I love it when they're on time or even here before me. Mm-hmm. I love it when they execute their ideas immediately. I love it when they call a meeting, even before I know I need one. Okay. So when we talk from that space, we're sharing that vibration and energy with our admin and saying, go for it. Be bright, be brilliant, be excited. And the reward is there for you.
Well, and there is a reward for us. There's a law of attraction that happens because when people go through the office here, our market center, our offices look different than everybody else's. And they have a different ambiance, they have a different environment, a different energy about them. And it attracts people. Yep. Like people ask to be in offices next to us for that reason.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's in its own way, by honoring it and amplifying it, it attracts the people that we want to us.
I recently worked at a high-end car dealership. The owner called me in to see what's going on. Why is my sales force really weak? Why are they not selling cars? So I walked through the building, and I'm just touching the desk, just barely grazing over with my hand the energy on the desk. And I found yes, and holy crap, no. I got to third desk, and I said, this guy ought to be a personal trainer. He doesn't belong in this business. And I don't have permission to open drawers or get through some paperwork or turn on the computer, but the boss certainly did. So he went and looked. And sticky noted to his screen was a note from a 24-hour fitness that said HR. So it was clearly indicated as he called the HR department to say, where's my guy and why isn't he here today? And she said, boss, he's always gone on Wednesdays for some reason. He calls in sick. So it was also noted in the calendar that he had an appointment off-site Wednesday. Sure enough, he was over at 24-Hour Fitness getting a job as an in training. And that's a great place for him. So I said, vacate this space now and clear his things. And it looks like he's not ready to do this work. As soon as we walked out of that little cubicle, there was a Asian gentleman who walked in the room. And he started to talk to me in Japanese and said, I need to buy a car for my mother and send it to Japan. And he thought I was a salesperson. So I just continued on the act. And I said, arigato, thank you for being here. And I explained, I said, you're so lucky. Actually, Shacho-san, the owner and the president, is right here with me. I know that he would like to take care of you. And he is a very famous baseball player who's kind of hanging out in New York right now. And he wanted to buy a vehicle for his mother.
Wow. So
we changed the energy in the room within minutes.
It's a great story.
She's like a spiritual chiropractor.
Crack that whip.
Just making a few adjustments.
Too funny. I was just, as you're telling the story and Jesse's talking about the energy in the room and all of that and what I did with the lights, it made me think about, and you said awareness. I think I probably would put like 95% of my success in life to awareness. And yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but I recognize it when people have it, when people don't. Can you bring awareness to other people, I guess is my question, or can you help them in a way? Or is that, I mean, and we've talked about this a little bit, it's like a slow process with some people.
Well, I've watched some people walk around as if they're soulless, as if they left their soul in the car, or it's not with them, or they left it in a different zip code. And they're just doing, just being in their doing, like typing, calculating, data entry, whatever, but they've lost the light behind their eyes. And sometimes that means that they are just in their space of doing. They've lost being. So I believe that being is a very important ingredient in awareness. Being aware. You can't do doing aware. You have to do being aware. So we have to recognize that skill sets are some completely different than passions. Mm-hmm. Passions, again, are different than experiences. Skill sets, passions, and experience is a combination package that brings back the soul, brings back the awareness. So let's say you have a skill set. I have a weird skill. I can gift wrap anything. Okay, give me a pickle, I can wrap that. A rock, I can make that rock really look fabulous. The ribbon, the wrap, and the tape, you can't even see the tape. And people don't even want to open it. It's just something that I can do. It doesn't mean I'm going to turn that skill set into having a gift shop that sells wrapping paper, tape, and tells you how to wrap your pickle. No, that's not my job. I just have this weird freaking skill set. So my passion is actually to teach how everyone can hear their own intuition with a little training and direction. Everyone has it. I want to celebrate that. And my big woohoo for that is the excitement when somebody sees and hears their own state of being excited, being giddy, being thrilled, being just surprised. So when I see somebody who's in their work life and they say, I have to do this, I'm stuck doing this, I have to do this accounting or this data entry, they're using skill sets, but they're not in their passion. So it's time to discuss what is passionate. I often hear, I have no passions. I have no idea what a passion is. What the frick is a passion? Mm-hmm. It's an underwear. Okay, but it's not just at Victoria's Secret. I believe that passion lies within all of us in something that makes you feel excited, what fuels your rocket, what lights you up, what makes you forget to eat lunch.
But when you hear people talk about passion, it can be a little bit like the Holy Grail. Like, if people don't have it, They don't know how to find it. They don't know how to look for it. They wouldn't see it if it hit them in the face. How do you help those people?
We start really simple. Like, well, how was your day this morning? What did you wake up to? Mm-hmm. Was it an alarm clock? Maybe you prefer the sound of birds. Okay, so suddenly it's like, oh yeah, I would totally love hearing birds. Okay, there's a passion. A passion to say, wow, wouldn't it be beautiful to listen to birds when you wake up?
Based on what you just said, would it be fair to say that intention is a pathway for intuition?
Yes. Yes, it is your gateway.
Okay.
Yes.
That helps me understand it.
Yes. So allowing the intentions to be loud, be present, write them down. That's a sticky note stuff. That is important to set the intention.
Because when I asked you how you help that person, you started with their waking breath, right? How they woke up. You're setting an intention right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so intention, it seems to be just a way to open doors for intuition to follow.
Yes, yes.
Well, that makes intention very powerful then. Mm-hmm. No, it seems like all of a sudden, to me, intention became extremely powerful.
Yeah.
Because if I know that is making a way then for intuition to come in behind and make things easy for me, why wouldn't I be more intentional?
No, it makes me think a lot about what we talked about a little bit last time in the last podcast, I believe, because I talked about decision making and being decisive. And I said I wish I had heard what Gary Keller, the owner of Keller Williams, said at one class I was at. He said he tells people to just make a decision when he talks to teens. He says, you may not know what you like, but make a decision and try it. And I said I wish I had heard that when I was 12. Because I would be much further along than I am now. And so what I love now is that I'm realizing I'm doing things with intention. I'm finding out what I don't like, which is helping me focus my intention. And then it's getting more and more magical, fun, crazy, cool. All of the good stuff is happening with more intention. And so, I mean, that's why my word for the year is intention and intuition, which now I'm realizing is like perfect.
Margaret, that's so beautiful because my feeling is intention is actually your spirit. It is your spirit. It is the conduit to your energy, your light, your own wisdom. It's inside. It's the frequency that feeds your soul. So today, everyone, if you would just write one intention, I intend to be, and be, not do.
That's what you told me. I feel comfortable sharing that from our session when we had. You said, stop doing and just start being, Margaret, in terms of not just spiritually, but at work, be, delegate. And I need to do that. I absolutely need to do that. And I think that's such a good message for other admin to hear and other leaders to hear. It was super powerful for me.
Being and doing are really two different mechanics inside of our body, mind, and spirit. So when we're in a state of being excited, being giddy, being exceptional, being spirited, being alive, being awakened, being sparky, which is my usual day, is being sparky. I think that you actually share that energy, that vibration, and it can't help but bang off of that next person who's in the room or even behind the wall. That's why they want to be next to you guys. You guys are vibing on that, and I believe that it's wonderful to be in a company that has that energy and that vibration. Who wants to hang out with a bunch of stinky pants? Who wants to be next to something that's draining your energy?
Yeah.
And taking out your light. Ugh.
Yeah, I care so much about that now that I'm very much more okay with saying no to people or saying no to events or being around groups of people that will do that. Because I'm so protective of it now. Because I realize there's the part of me that wants to help those people for sure too, and there's a part of me that realizes I can't do that for them or I can't be everything for everyone.
You're not supposed to.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of doers who are just habitual doers or fixers. I have a lot of admin who are just fixers. They say, oh, I can fix that. I can take care of that. Let me give you that. And then all of a sudden they look at the time that has been swallowed up by all of that they are doing, surpassing their job. some of it is good. Some of it is training. Some of it is excellent just to say I had this experience. But imagining instead, empowering that other person who said, Margaret, can you take care of this for me? I really can't. I don't have the time. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing anyways. Okay. So once they finish their rah-rah, turn it back over to them and say, stop. And put your hands down. Don't lift your wallet, your hands, or buy them 2 lattes. Just stand still and say, wow, what do you think you need to empower yourself right now? What do you think you need to do right now for yourself? And they actually have the answer. They're just breathing in their instinct, in their fear-based, scared space of not being good enough or not being able to do this well enough or at the level of expectation. Whatever it is, they're just scaring themselves.
That's one of my favorite coaching questions and coaching hacks, and I do it with my kids too, is when, you ask a direct question and then they say, I don't know. And the response is if you did know, what would the answer be? Because there is a layer there of fear, right? That if you just get them past that and they just respond however they're supposed to respond, there's an answer there. They have the answer.
Yeah. I remember being in a therapist's office at 5 years old and explaining to the therapist, I was telling them, well, you're going to have a flat tire. Your car is actually, you better call Mrs. Rice because you can't get home. That car has a boo-boo on his tire. And he said, and May, how do you know that? I said, well, you have a white car and it's in the parking lot and it's broken. So he went outside and he took a look and sure enough, there was a flat tire. And he did call Mrs. Rice. So when my mom came to pick me up, he said, this girl is on autopilot. I said, who's Otto? I want to know who's Otto because Otto and I have this great time together.
Otto and I need to have a talk.
I want to take him to get some ice cream. We have to go out together. I don't know who Otto is. So he explained what is autopilot to me, and I understood then I had a whole crew. Not just Otto, but I had a crew. We all have a crew.
Well, so I was going to ask you about this. Again, Margaret and I have had some interaction with empaths, one form or another. And it feels like, it seems like that gifting can manifest itself in many different ways. And so I have friends that can see things through color, and they might see an aura or something, or it might, it might just be a feeling. Okay. And as you described your gifting, it seems multidimensional.
Yeah.
And so how is it that manifests with you when you, like for the car, do you physically see a car and the white color and everything?
So what happens to me ever since I was a child, I think it's called a Viewmaster, where you click, and you put these pictures in, and there's a new reel of pictures for every time you go see something new. So it's like that. When I sit with a client or am asked to go see a property or even fly to Singapore to see if this singer is going to be good for our recording office, I am given or gifted this little reel of pictures, and I put it down into my Viewmaster, which just click, 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 and I can see the outcome and the happily ever after. And that's what happened. So ever since I was a kid, it was started with a Viewmaster.
And then another thing you said is you don't focus on the darkness.
No.
You get rid of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my next question then to you is if you have a Viewmaster and you can see the outcome,
yes,
it can't be a positive 100% of the time.
Correct.
And so when the outcome is negative or dark, what do you do then?
Sideswipe it. So it's not like Tinder, but
you swipe left on it.
But rather, I'm able to say, here is your greatest and highest route, instead of the one that they were originally planned for. So this is a good one. A client of mine was going to buy a project to start a condominium in Los Angeles. And I can see that it could be 38 properties on this lot with several acres. And I said, assign it. And I didn't even know what that meant But I was given those words off the Viewmaster, a sign, this big giant contract. And I said, you need to sell this to a company that runs and owns condominium projects within this immediate Santa Monica area. And he goes, why? I want to do this. I want to own these. I said, your ego is yakking off. Shut the freak up. You don't have any business doing this. This is not your thing. This is not your gig. And this would actually hurt you. Well, this is '07. And sure enough, it hurt him. He didn't listen to what I said. I mean, you have free will. I'm not telling you you have to listen to me.
Yeah. He
bought the property. He put the project up, and he could never get the price that he wanted for each of those 38 units. And he was over $38 million in the hole.
Jeez.
And I said, I told you. Nicely. And I slapped his hand and I said, you will recover. But it's not from doing condos. Please, don't do that. It's not your thing.
He's going to get it back on assignments. He's just going to focus on assignments.
He did quite a few just to make things happen and start to recover. He was a quick recoverer at that time. But it was ego. Now, ego runs instinct. This is a reminder. Ego is our instinct fiend. And it's selfish, and it's all about me, and what is best for me. But if he had looked at the greater and higher good of all concern, which is the noble higher purpose, he would have been awakened to saying, wow, I need to stay in my lane, which I'm really good at, selling massively large, anything over $3 million homes. That was that's his bread and butter. He was looking for the cream, but he was looking at a bad cow.
So let's talk about ego for a second, because we run into it occasionally in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
Maybe more often than not, yeah.
And actually, it's part of our dialogue. Last week I talked for a minute about narcissism. And I've been studying narcissism for a few years. I've been studying ego for a few years, mainly because of my problems with both. So I'm curious, when you do energy work, energy healing, is there any reliance on natural elements that can help with that? And here's my point, is like psychotropic drugs or medicine or mushrooms or anything else where some people tie that to a death of ego, like basically that you have an experience that's greater than yourself and helps you understand your perspective in the world. Is there any interplay between energy healing and
it's fun, but I don't recommend it for everybody. It doesn't fit for everyone, such as ayahuasca or
psilocybin or mushrooms.
It's not something that I think I would react well to.
I do like way better with ice cream and French fries. But I believe that sometimes stopping to think of other people other than yourself allows you to think of the greater, higher good. It's amazing how ego takes us down some trippy roads that say it's all about me. It's not. We're not here alone. Energy-wise, our vibration depends on the vibration of others so that we can move forward. So
right. Like I think I've also brought this up, like the worst thing you can do to a human is put them in solitary confinement. Like they've found just how damaging psychologically, emotionally, physiologically, how being detached from other people, how damaging that is. Like it's probably the most damaging thing you can do to somebody.
I think you're awakening every possible fear of abandonment and isolation in somebody doing that.
That's funny. I think about that all the time. I don't talk about it ever, but it's something you said to me early on when we met today. Like you brought it up right away.
Yeah.
About being alone.
The fear of abandonment. Abandonment thing.
Yeah.
Abandonment is, well, actually, let's go here. There are 30,000 emotions. There are over 30,000 emotions that have been recorded by psychologists. And we travel through every day between 1,000 and 8,000 emotions a day. It's amazing to think about how we process that. I mean, joy is a combination of 4 or 5 different things. There's compassion, excitement, anticipation, happiness, and expectation that make up joy. So when people say, how do I get joy? It's not easy.
Yeah, that's a complicated recipe. And in what ratios?
Right. We have to slide through 5, 6 different emotions to get to joy. But I like to think for myself, I want perpetual joy. I may not have it in the moment. Poop, I'm going through lots of stinky pants stuff every day. Whether it be a death in the family or my daughter getting a divorce or whatever it is, those are moments of grief and sorrow and sadness and whatever else they are. But even in the grief, I've learned something wonderful. It's the fact that I was loved. The fact that I was appreciated by somebody. If I'm missing somebody, then I am experiencing also the appreciation side of it. So the process of allowing ourselves to have emotions, to bring them into our work life, into our home life, into our passive life, wherever it is, it means to feel deeply and completely.
And so many people don't allow themselves to feel the grief, right, or the abandonment, or the loneliness, or the...
Right.
Which I'm realizing is a big deal.
It's very important.
Well, and to feel deeply and completely isn't always joyful or happy, right? Because I was just thinking about one of the things I have trouble understanding about myself, because I consider myself a positive person. But there's a part of me that's deeply tragic.
Absolutely.
And I run to that spot every once in a while. And I just want to put on, indie piano music, right? And kind of crawl
tragic.
and I kind of want to feel sad. I kind of just want to...
That's okay. Acknowledge it. I don't ask anybody to throw it out or say, you'll get over it. Bull. No, get through it. Get in it.
I think that's super important. I think that's what my mom gave me growing up and my family in general was, I realized I experienced what a lot of people didn't experience until their late 20s or early 30s. I felt everything. So now I'm comfortable in it. I can feel sad and I can come out of it. I can feel tragic and come out of it. And as a society, I was just going to ask you, this was an interesting segue, like, what does peace and happiness feel like or look like to you? Because so many people are searching for that and using other things to feel that way, or like not understanding that feeling tragic, feeling sad is okay. It's not a constant. You're not happy, joyful all the time. You're not.
Thich Nhat Hanh, Buddhist philosopher, said that we needed war to understand what was peace and happiness. So we have to feel both sides to appreciate what is. So I believe that if anybody experiences grief or loss or sadness or failure, it is a momentary pixel in our life. It does not define you. It doesn't hold you hostage. It is one moment. Now, if we stay in there all the time, you're building up a freeway that says, okay, steel and girder, let's hold up this pain. Let's hold up this process. And I'm not even putting any off-ramps on it. I'm just going to stay here and be in pain. How long can you hold a fist like that? I believe you need an off-ramp. So sometimes it's important to just take a moment and breathe.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I see so many people I want to build off-ramps for,
Yeah.
where they're just stuck in this loop.
Yeah. I am also an EFT practitioner, Emotional Freedom Technique, which is a tapping technique on meridian points on your own body.
Oh, so do you know about ASMR and all that stuff?
Yes.
Because we made a joke about it, and
Thanks.
I don't mean to make a joke about it, but we in one of our
I had never
podcasts,
heard of it before.
She had never heard of it,
Okay.
and so I brought it up, and now we do a free form episode every once in a while, and we use ASMR to transition from one topic to the next.
Whoa.
And it's kind of funny and silly, but I'm curious about your
EFT.
experience with it.
Well, I have clients who might come in and are dealing with loss or grief. And I actually ask them, how painful is that grief? How painful is that loss? 0 to 10, what's the level? And they might give me a number, it's 4.5. And I'm looking at them and I'm saying, this is off the charts. This is like a 14.8 off the Richter scale. Then I'll ask them also, where do you feel it in your body? It's in my throat. I said, no, it's in your back, it's in your chest, it's in your belly, it's also in your big toe. Okay. So I want you to feel the pain or the anxiety or whatever is bothering you in your body. Also taste. Is there a taste in the back of your throat? Is it lemony, salty, sour, sweet? What are you tasting? Some people will say nothing. Maybe later on it'll show up. And so then we breathe into it and we just express that pain by tapping. We tap on the meaty part of our hand, on the side of the hand, and say, even though I'm having this pain or this feeling of sorrow, I deeply and completely love and accept myself just the way I am. Because if I love myself, I wouldn't hurt myself. But I just forgot. Even though I'm having this pain and I don't know how to get rid of it, and it's a 4.5. Liar, liar, pants on fire. It's a 4.5. I don't know what I'm going to do with all this pain. I deeply and completely remember that I do love myself, accept myself. So the process of tapping, actually, what it does is change the peptides and synapses in our brain that said, wow, if I'm traveling through this highway of pain all the time, I'm forgetting that I also have this other part of my life, which is that I do like myself, or that I'm starting to like myself, or that I'm allowing myself to like myself. That's a big issue about liking yourself.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me, I'm going to screw this up, and I don't have my phone in front of me to pull up anything, but on Netflix, there's a mentalist. His name's, I think it's Darren Brown. It's something like that. He's from the UK. And he did an experiment. He wanted to find somebody who was bigoted, showed bias, and he wanted to put that person in a situation where he might have to surrender his own life to save someone of a different skin color. Mm. And he did that exercise with this person, with this subject, where he, without really even telling him about it or the subject knowing about it, he did this exercise. And then when the subject was confronted with this false situation, he ended up doing it to himself. He ended up tapping. And basically the mentalist was saying, hey, when you find yourself in a time of need where you need strength and power, then you'll find it.
Yes.
And this tapping thing happened. So the subject is in a vehicle. He sees somebody being harmed, and he is trying to be strong and put himself in harm's way to protect this person, and he does that.
Wow. The tapping. I love
device.
It. Yeah. I had actually a realtor. This was recently. She is having failure after failure. She's in commercial properties. And commercial real estate is a whole other breed of cat. Mm-hmm. It's not easy, and it could be a year before you close a deal.
We're experienced a little bit with commercial real estate. We can...
Yeah, whether you're trying to sell a restaurant or build a rubber plant, it doesn't matter. It takes a long time. So she was being judged. She was hearing things like, oh, she'll never get there. Oh, my gosh. And her parents were saying to her, I'm going to have to put some more money in your account. I don't know how you can live. I don't know how I'm going to keep paying your house payment. I don't know how I'm going to be able to fund you if you keep doing this. In her heart of hearts, she said, I have to stay in this commercial industry. I love it. It is so fun. It makes me giddy. I don't care that I don't have a dime in my purse, and I'm wearing this Cartier jacket over and over. It's become a uniform. I said to her, let's visualize your greatest possible outcome. And what happened was she started to cry, trying to see that beautiful outcome. And she says, my parents tell me I'll never get there. My parents say that I will never have that. I need to get a regular 9-to-5 job. That was like poison to her ears. And so she recognized, wow, it wasn't her feeling of failure. It was a feeling of disappointing her mother that was causing her to have all of the angst. And I said, let's visualize actually seeing you and your mother celebrate, that you're taking your mom on a spa vacation to Taiwan and having this time of your life and jumping over to Singapore and then going to Hong Kong Disneyland and having a great time. And she says, I really can see that. Okay, she closed her deal within, I think, a week.
Wow.
From that. Yeah, she sold a rubber company in Portland. Go figure.
Yeah, commercial it's not that sexy. it's like the geriatric.
I think the price points are for people, and they think they can jump in. And
yeah, but it's not fluid. It's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of It's hard.
It's hard. I usually ask somebody who's starting off in that is to do a number of things besides commercial, so that they can actually supplement their income and feel like they are contributing to themselves and society.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have time for a few more? Are we doing?
Think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did some research. I tried to listen to you in other formats and try to get an understanding of like how your gifting works and how you like to see it work. And I was intrigued by a quick clip I saw on YouTube with you with Mark Seknoff.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And he asked you about like some bigger current events, economics, and you use your intuition in this way as well?
Yes, I do.
And so how does that work? I actually have written down intuition, macro versus micro. Like it seems like in anything, there's macro levels and micro levels, right? So there's microeconomics, which is isolated to a very small thing, and then macro, which is how it affects everything.
Yes.
So how does intuition work on a big level like that? How does intuition work on a macro level?
Oh, on a global scale.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I believe that intuition rides alongside data and logic. I believe that that's the place that moves the heart. That's the part that says, but I have these type of clients who love this type of service. Or I have these type of clients who don't like this type of service. So when we think on a global scale, what can we offer that is of the greatest and highest good? I believe that we have to stay in that lane and be of that bigger, greater service. Technology is an amazing industry that is going to be surpassed in the United States by other countries. And it is our responsibility to accept the new challenge and allow growth. That means to share in the growth, not to feel isolated or alone or ashamed of our failures, but rather jump in and say, yes, let's do this together. So that's why I'm saying that it's time for the heart. Yes, let's do this together is heart-based. Your heart would never say, technology says that our data says that we have to work together only because I do this good and you do this good. Now we add heart to it and say, I love it when we have this success. I love it when we can share this success with the world. I don't believe that we as a nation should stay so isolated. This concerns me greatly.
Yeah, it is interesting with our trade policies and the tariffs, and we are isolated. We're cutting ties.
It's damaging our entire spirit and what we are as a country. So let's not get started in that because I will rip a new one in there. Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you about this. In your intuition, your gifting, what do you see for the real estate industry? Is there disruption around the corner?
Yes, thank you. Okay, I believe that it's important to have a little disruption. Actually, disruption creates even more greater magnitude for other people. So it's now coming into a new term for different types of investors. So I believe the investor market is coming forward.
Okay.
It's time. Those of you who have giant levels of equity in your home, you might think about, how can I create some passive income? If I had another doorway that was creating some rental property income, wow, I wouldn't have to worry a day in my life about where my next meal is coming from. So in actuality, I think that clients who have been in the business 20, 30 years, let's talk to those people and say, look, let me help you create some passive income flow because now's the opportunity to catch a deal. So yes, disruption is very important.
All right. Gary Keller.
A fine character. What do you want to know?
Well, I saw that he would just say somebody like he would say Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, right? And you would have kind of a reaction. So I wanted to get you off cuff and just ask you, just say Gary Keller at you and see what happened.
There is such intelligence and a compassion that's a level above. And I believe that the Keller family, the Keller group, the Keller name shows that in their compassion and integrity. That's two key words, compassion and integrity, that are very, very important today in our economics, in our country, in our zip codes.
Actually, that's interesting that you say that. I just passed on a business opportunity because they were missing those two things.
It's true.
Like everything in it says it's a good deal, but I didn't see compassion in their transition plan.
Okay? Or integrity.
Or integrity.
We have to do what matches with our core values. Okay? And I would ask everybody to have their 5 top core values always with them when they think about entering into a deal or a negotiation with anybody. Are they in integrity? Are they compassionate? One of my core values is family. And another one is learning, teaching and learning. And I believe that if I'm doing something that's not for my greater, higher good and for my family, then I'm out of line. There are many times when I have to say no to a deal because maybe it's my granddaughter's birthday, and maybe that deal would take me to France for a gig that I have to do to meet a certain singer. I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass because family is more important. And I believe I would gain the respect of the people that I would say no to, that says, okay, then let's make it another day, which they did.
Right. Great.
That's why I was so honored that she said yes to the retreat, too. We talked about this when I visited her. I was like, why did you say yes to us? Because you could have said yes to anybody else or yes to a million other things. And then when you said yes and you used the word delicious, I told several people about it, and I was like, this feels yes.
Anyone that qualifies anyone that qualifies their emotions with delicious and yummy and anything to describe food, I'm behind. I'm behind it.
Oh, yeah. And if it's deep fried, get me there.
No, we're very honored. I mean, we're very honored, Enmay, that Enmay will be one of the speakers at the Northwest Pacific Admin Retreat. And how many tickets are left? 1?
2.
2?
Oh, my
So there's only
gosh.
2 tickets left. It happens in April. So we're a ways out still from it, right?
Oh, don't
And it'll be
miss
sold
out.
out. It'll be a stacked deck, including Enmay there.
Yeah.
And then it'll be amazing to see with people coming from such different
All over the place, different backgrounds. ideas.
socioeconomic, religious backgrounds. You know, I know it'll go well because I've seen how this runs before. I know Margaret's intention with it, and she really creates a safe space for people to come together and kind of have their minds blown. So I don't have any fear about that whatsoever.
Well,
and
this
I'm
is
very, very excited to see.
It's super exciting because, this is such intuition and something. Jesse knows my journey with it, and it's such an important piece to me that I know there's going to be reactions. I know there's going to be people that are going to say, "You're bringing who? And who is this person? And what do they do?" And I love that because they have to understand that being open and being having an awareness about being open is super important to me. And if you don't want that, you don't need to come, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I love squirmy and squeamish.
Yeah.
I love those 2 words together. They're kind of squishy. But what I like is shaking up in the insides to say, okay, let me take off some of the old limiting beliefs and insert some new data, some new images, some new feelings. With 30,000 emotions, come on, let's feel a few.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, be brave, be there, be present. And I'm so excited to be part of this. Thank
It's going to
you.
be awesome.
Well, if you've enjoyed this at all and you want to experience this at a greater level, you'll be able to reach out to Enmay. We'll have links available. But consider going to the Pacific Northwest Admin Retreat, which will be in Washington State somewhere in April. And you'll have an opportunity to meet Enmay and talk about all sorts of things squishy and squirmy.
Jesse, Margaret, thank you so much.
Thank you, Enmay.
That was awesome. Thanks, guys. Oh, and one more message I should say before we totally tune off. I forget to say this every time. Please continue to share this with whoever you think needs to hear it. The way that the message is getting out is by you sharing it on Instagram, Facebook, email. I appreciate the emails that I've received from listeners that I have never met. And I know there are a lot of people out there that really need to hear this message from maybe a specific episode that really spoke to you. So please continue to share it. And we appreciate all your feedback and your reviews and just every bit of the love that we're getting. So.
And if you know anyone moving to Washington State that needs real estate assistance, think of us.
These guys are really cool.